This is Beach Talk Radio.
Good morning, Mr. and Mrs. America, and all ships at sea. This is your captain speaking, Mean Gene. Mean Gene. The following will be a test of the ship's whistle, the sonar alarm, the cable alarm, and the atomic attack alarm.
Ladies and gentlemen, broadcasting live from the Margaritaville Terrace on Fort Myers Beach, 100 feet from the Gulf of America. Here are your award-winning social media superstars, the hosts of Beach Talk Radio, Kim and Ed Ryan.
Yeah. Thank you all for coming. Appreciate it very much. It's been a crazy day already, and I first want to say before we have two guests on today, I want to say thank you to everybody out there that donated flags. I think the final count of the donations and everybody that bought flags was about 15,000 flags. So if you drove from Bowditch to the Big Carlos Pass Bridge, you're going to see American flags planted every 2 to 3 feet all the way up and down Estero Boulevard. And the plan is for everybody that planted them to take them out tomorrow night or Monday and hold on to them to the 4th of July so that we could do that over again. So we've got a killer show lined up for you. And also thank you to everybody that came out to the ceremony today in Times Square. We had a lot of veterans speak, and it was just a nice ceremony. Thank you to the Lee County Sheriff's Department for providing the honor guard. And it was just a nice event. 30 minutes long, nice and short and sweet. And it's Flag Day. It's the 250th anniversary birthday of the United States Army, the biggest, best kick-ass army in the entire world. And we thank everybody for their service. Our first guest today, are you done playing Wordle, or would you like to join the show at all today?
No, I just want to say, going up and down, I mean, there was so many flags. Hopefully we went slow enough for people to see.
Yeah.
You know, it was a little hard. We had traffic backing up, but there were so many flags. Diamond Head, Pink Shell.
Yeah.
Down at Bowditch, that was really amazing.
For anybody that...
And if you were watching it live, there was a moment, I don't know if I told you this, there was a moment where the camera went dark. It fell off the selfie stick. It landed on the golf cart. Thank God it did not roll into the road. And thank God we did not use any expletives when it happened. So
we do that all the time, though.
I know it's happened twice today. I dropped the phone.
Then she dropped the camera during the ceremony today and totally shattered my expensive wireless microphone.
It was the wind that knocked it over. But somebody who shall remain nameless came up to me and said, "I saw you kick it over."
Oh, I see.
I'm like, thank you very much.
So the other thing was I completely forgot what I was going to say.
No, we had lots of in the middle, I printed out a bunch of fun facts.
I saw that.
Yeah,
that was very nice. You had Megan reading them off as you were doing that.
And
very
thank
nice.
you to those guys for pimping my ride and giving me something better than a bicycle, because it was
very nice.
Way better to go on that. And thank you for the Turtle Nest for sponsoring
Yes, and
it.
thank you to everybody that took the time to go out and put those flags out. It's a non-political event. It's so nice to see everybody rally around the flag and rally around the country. And thank you to everybody for their service to America. Mm-hmm. And we have some updates for you that.
Oh, let me just say too,
gosh,
it was
please,
so nice to. At one point, Dan's out there like with his drill, drilling the holes.
That was the right idea.
Wild West. Woo!
I have blisters on my thumbs from trying to shove the flags.
No one's giving you a power tool
into the sand. And Dan and Megan are going by. He's drilling holes in the ground. She's shoving the flags in the ground. And so they were going like 1,000,000 miles an hour. But if you have a chance,
did you thank all the volunteers? Because there was a lot of people out there.
Thank you for showing up at 6:00 this morning at the bridge and helping us out. But if you have a chance to there's not a lot of traffic. If you have a chance to drive from one end of the island to the other and just take that all in. And, the funniest thing, not funny, but the thing was, you think a TV station or a newspaper would show up to cover something as non-political as something that you guys did on this island today. And so we've developed a relationship with Wink, and everybody sent the information to Wink, but they're too busy because it's not political and it's not controversial, they would rather go and cover. Apparently, there's some protesting going on in other parts of Lee County, so they said that they didn't want to show up today for something as non-political as this, so they could show up for something that as political as that. So that was the
I want to
unfortunate
say
thing.
too, I don't know, did you see the enormous, there's two,
Yes, what's going on
but
with
there's
that?
an enormous flag
Yes, you can
that
see it
you
from here if you look
see
out there.
at the base of the bridge.
Who's behind that?
I
Does
will
anybody
tell
have any
you
idea?
because
That's
I got
amazing.
a text message. Let
It's
me-
on a giant crane. Somebody put a big giant American flag out over by
Dusty
Oh,
with
there is.
Clyde Johnson Contracting
cool.
and Roofing. We
Sweet.
have a 15-foot by 20-foot flag, and they
That's
put
what
it
that
up
is.
there.
Yeah. And so thank you
Yep.
very much for all that.
And we those guys were putting up another flag down when we were doing our golf around, and we got to talk to them for a few minutes. So
Sweet.
I don't know how they got my phone number, but
It's everywhere.
there you go.
All right, so we have some very important updates for the folks on Fort Myers Beach about things that are going on at the county level. So we asked County Representative David Mullica to come down, and he's here with his family, and we appreciate this. Two weekends in a row, his whole family came down. So thank you very much, David, for coming on, and we appreciate you showing up, coming down to the ceremony today. Not showing up, but coming to the ceremony today. And what did you think of all that?
I'm sorry.
What did you think of the ceremony
Oh.
today? Thank you so
No,
much
it was,
for coming
it was
down.
fantastic. And that feeling of patriotism, it was just an honor to be there and to see the veterans and all the hard work and the investment and dedication that all the businesses and residents put into that beautiful display of patriotism. And
Yeah,
And how about that 94-year-old guy? He was
Crazy.
so spry
Yeah.
and he was a little bit of a flirt for a
Pervert,
while.
yeah.
I mean, I gave him my phone number, but I was like, I am
Nice.
married.
That's where he got
so.
you. So David,
So
So just a quick shout out to my recently passed grandfather, who was a World War II Navy veteran.
Oh.
He passed away last November at 98 years old. So
Wow.
almost would
Wow.
have made it here to be the
98.
eldest
World War
person,
II.
but honored to be his grandson.
Yeah.
that was
98.
great. Yeah.
You better stay in shape. That is amazing genetic.
Yeah.
Wow.
So obviously the big question that most everybody on Fort Myers Beach has, and in Southwest Florida, is what's going on with the Fort Myers Beach Pier. And we know that there's been a lot of stuff with permitting, and it's going to take 100 years for it to be rebuilt. And so, what is the latest that you can tell us about the pier?
That's a bit of an exaggeration, but yeah.
Yeah. So I have some good news. And last time I was on your show, I was able to tell you that we had moved up the original timeline by a year. So I've been lobbying with the state and federal levels with multiple agencies. And based on what my engineer has told me, we've just finished our second round of Army Corps permitting responses, which is great. So as you reapply and resubmit these details, that we're closer to the end than the beginning with the Corps. And I'm cautiously optimistic that we may actually get our Corps permit yet this year in 25. It was instead of July of 26.
That's nice.
Wow.
Very
that's-
nice. So what is that?
We might have picked up another 8 or 9 months on that end. And I also want to let you know that our engineer, we were supposed to be at 90% plans by January of 26. We're going to be at 90% plans in October to be ready for final plans. So if that permit comes out in October, we can put it on the street because we have plans that are biddable at 90% plus to have the bid being done while we're finalizing the permit to start construction that much faster.
So I haven't really
So-
gotten a lot of sleep. So what you just said went completely over my head. So when will the pier open?
It wouldn't matter if
When will
you've
the
gotten
pier
a
be
lot of
built,
sleep.
and when can we cut the
No.
ribbon?
Let me ask.
No.
So you've got that permit. What's the
Last
next
time
step?
I was here, the first time I was here, it was going to be August of 28. Then we got August of 27. I think we may still yet get it at the end of 26 or
Wow.
sooner.
Get what?
That
Get-
sounded a lot farther away until you're in the middle of 25.
When you say get it,
So-
what do you mean? Get what?
We'll be
August?
I think we'll be building the pier in 26 instead of 27 or
Okay.
28 now,
Gotcha.
because we've been all working like hell.
Yeah. So
Let me just ask. So you got the Army Corps of
And I
Engineers.
want to thank our
permit.
staff for pushing these things
Yes.
along with our
Yes.
engineer
Yeah.
and all the connections with the state Secretary of DEP and and the Army Corps as well.
Did you have a question before I start to ask one and you interrupt me again for
No,
the third time
I
today?
know. I'm going to shut your
It's
microphone
like an
off.
old married couple. I swear.
Well,
Jeez.
get 30 years. We are. So you've got the permit from the Army Corps of Engineers. You've got the, and then what's the
we
next?
don't. That's the hard one to get.
Okay.
That's the hardest one to pin down. The
Well-
state permit should be in hand within a matter of weeks, but that doesn't let us start work. It actually would let us start the removal if we wanted to remove the old pier early, but that doesn't help us start the new one
Okay.
yet until
Is
the
it-
Army
is-
Corps is the critical path item.
Is the new pier going to be built in the same spot the old pier is now, or are you going to move it one way or the other so you can build it like a bridge is built?
It'll be the same footprint, only wider. It's same entrance, same point of beginning.
Gotcha.
It just goes out 1,000 feet instead of 500
Yeah.
feet, and,
Yeah.
and
So-
it's wider, 12 feet wide instead of 8 feet wide.
So in a perfect world, when are you going to cut the ribbon so people can walk on it? In a perfect world,
I would
Give
like
us
to
a
be,
date.
be our Christmas of 26 Christmas present.
Christmas of 26.
20
So you said
I know you're trying to do.
you want me to do the
It
math
takes,
for
it
you?
takes a year to build it. If we get it by Christmas of this year, we get it on the street, we should be looking at the Christmas of 26 or spring of 27, depending on what the construction timeline
So
turns
either
out to be.
Christmas 26 or Easter
Of
of 27.
So
That's
the
the bullseye
best-
right now, but that's a year and a half pickup since I've had this job for 6 months.
Thank you very much
So
for that. Yeah.
I'm excited to announce
So
that.
the best case scenario is 2 years from now, right? 2 years from now. That's what that's what we're kind of looking
Close.
at. If-
Hopefully a little less
yeah,
than that.
I know nothing. You
know.
can't. Some of it's shooting darts with
It's
the
June
Army.
25.
Yeah,
It's a year and a
27.
half.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Easter of 27 is a
Yeah.
little less than
Oh,
2 years.
yeah.
So
Are you
Easter.
okay today, dear? I know it's been a long day so
but
far for
Christmas
you,
of
and you've been out in the sun.
26, I
Yeah.
have been out in the sun,
We're-
but Christmas of 26, that's
So
we're fighting every month to pick up another month. And so it's
Cool.
We have ongoing progress that I'm pleased to share.
okay, so I know you got a couple other things that you wanted to share, but first, can I ask you a question that I didn't tell you I was going to ask you? With the cat thing, do you think the cat thing? I mean, it just seemed
what
like
cat thing?
he knows what I'm talking about.
I
Do you
know
think
the cat thing.
24 hours is enough?
Oh, that cat thing.
Would you prefer it be a week, or is 24 hours enough? Or
Do you have a cat?
do you like
Unfortunately,
cats?
We just had 2 beautiful cats that died of old age after a very happy life
Yeah.
this year that were 15
So
and
you're a
16
cat
years old.
person. You're a cat person.
Yeah.
Is
So-
24 hours enough?
Sorry.
So here's the tough part. I think what happened to Kevin the cat was certainly unfortunate, right? And I said publicly 2 hours is not enough. You couldn't go to Publix and know your cat was gone and come back, you know. So staff went back and looked over their policies and procedures. They went from 0-day policy to 24 hours, which is a step in the right direction, I think. I didn't know this until I got this job, and I learned a lot of new subjects every day.
Oh, sure,
right?
sure.
Everything from fluoride to cats to
Yeah.
peers. But respectfully, the Animal Services Department shared with me they used to have a 1-week period at some time ago. I don't know how many years ago.
I
This
didn't know
was.
that.
But even when they had that, less than 1% of stray cats ever got picked up by the owners. So it really is a frustrating puzzle. And this poor little cat did appear to be ill, and they were worried they were going to mix it with a healthy population. And some mistakes were made, adjustments have been fixed
Yes.
respectfully. So we're trying to do the right thing. But
So
thank you
1
for
week.
asking.
So
do
one.
you think the services that are available, not services, but the facility needs to be bigger? I mean,
No, I think there's 2 halves of the problem, right? Pet owners need to be responsible. They need to tag and chip their pets. They need to put a collar on them. They need to take good care of their health, right? They got to do their half. And I will tell you, the staff bends over backwards to find the chips. They go around the whole body, head to tail, to find the chips. And we're giving them away for free right now. We've just bought 10,000 of them, and we've already put in hundreds of them for free. The awareness campaign that came out of this, I think Kevin will have done us
For
some
sure.
good
For
to
sure.
recalibrate this. And
Yep.
I have a plan to go out there and visit the facility, and I'll come back to you with other improvements on that. But
Are you happy with the leadership at that facility?
I am. I
Okay.
met with them personally. I do know they really care. They've been there a long time. It's hard to get 8,000 cats a year into
Yeah.
your literally herding cats, right?
For
I
sure.
met the person that herds cats, and they're all trying to do a good job, but it is a daunting task. So
Gotcha.
I
Okay.
think this will do us some good. I hate to see his sacrifice, but I think it will go towards the greater good.
You had some other updates that you wanted to tell people
Besides the cat.
besides the cat.
Yes.
That was an unscripted update.
No, but please allow me to share some progress on some other major infrastructure and park projects. Punta Rassa, we've got all the infrastructure in place for the state to come back to repave the parking lots to get open there, and the marine contract has been bid and let. We should be open at Punta Rassa by August of this year, not June of 26 like it was when I first came on your show. August of this year we'll be open with all that Punta Rassa boat ramp.
Great. Can I ask a dumb question?
Yeah.
Where's Punta Rassa?
So
Sandoval Causeway,
Oh my
the main
God.
boat ramp of Lee County.
Not only can he not do math, his topographical orientation is horrible.
I don't get out of Gateway a lot, but thank you for
No,
that.
but it's the main highest traffic boat ramp in Lee County
see.
that we all miss.
Well, that's good
And the
news.
parking
then.
lot's getting bigger. There's other improvements to it, but it's going to get open faster, and I'm really proud to have been pushing that along, and
Yeah.
the staff is doing a great job. The couple other things, Hickory Boulevard, new paving sidewalk. We're putting in 9,500 linear feet, almost 2 miles of sidewalk from Hickory Boulevard, from where the turn north is, almost 2 miles in there. That's getting underway on July 15th. So that whole cleanup of that shoulder and sidewalk and all that area in there to make that safer and upgraded has been let, and the notice to proceed is July 15th. The Estero Boulevard, big redo of all the sidewalk, roads, drainage, crosswalk signals, that huge project that we're partnering with the state of Florida DOT on, that is out for bid right now.
Okay,
So
wait
that's
now. What are you talking about?
right in front of you.
Okay, this part is out for bid. It looks like it's done.
No,
Which portion are we talking
the
about?
state, this roundabout
The
is
roundabout.
a separate project. This is the whole road, sidewalks, and all of the
Oh,
potholes, broken sidewalks, flashing crossing signals,
I see.
about all the electronics that went bad and had to be replaced that
Okay.
didn't work.
When will they all be fixed?
They should start under construction here yet this year, because the bids it's out for bid now to be bid the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
Which normally means they'll be underway within a few months.
All right.
So that's 3 big projects.
That's good.
Now,
And
wait,
I'm
do
gonna
you
give
know,
you
well, before you go to the next one, do you know when those cones on the other side of the bridge are going to be removed so that there's actually 2 lanes coming over the bridge? I know it's a state thing. I should have told you that ahead of
If
time,
I
but
would have
it's
known, I would have asked.
all right. It's
FDOT
kind of
for
confusing
that.
right now. If
I'll
you-
send you a text when I talk to Will.
okay,
or to
but
Wayne,
when you
rather.
came over the bridge, did you
Yeah.
see how confusing it was with the cones still out
I
there?
saw that.
Okay.
So anyway, I'll ask. I have good. I
think
talk
it
to
was
him
that
every week. I just didn't ask that specific
All right.
question this week. But I have a sneak preview for everybody that I wanted to share with you. That's on our agenda for Tuesday, and you might not have caught it the way it was laid out.
Mhm.
So we're using some funds from various sources. But you remember me talking about the Trico Park, the shrimp site that we had the grant that my lovely
Yeah.
wife helped us get that. And I asked, with the school vacating, could we upgrade that site where the school used to be to a public benefit for a boat ramp?
Yeah.
Okay. That project is still underway and working itself through. But in my travels with that area, there was a small site for sale at the beginning of Main Street on the right. And I said, could we use that for the derelict vessel launch, removing vessels from the water and maybe take it less crowded away from the public boat ramp side of the shrimping site? Because there was 3 different uses that would have been piled up on each other on my first idea. Our staff put together a program with the old Summer Electric
Yes.
property.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And we're going to actually buy that and build a new full public first-class boat ramp facility
Wow.
for the
Wow.
public. Only the second one that we've
Wow.
done in 20 years.
So
But
there's
we're going to build
wow.
a new one, and that won't be tied to the other one, right?
Yeah. Very
All
nice.
you boaters.
So that means in blue skies and gray skies, we will have a boat ramp that will stay open, because we'll have the shrimp site, the Trico site, still available for the barges and all the other
Wow.
cleanup.
So if you go to Main Street off the bridge, you make that right. There's a piece of property right there that the
Right across
county's
from
going to.
Compass Rose,
Oh,
Summer
okay.
Electric property. There's multiple buildings
Wow.
that appear in there.
Is there?
But with that idea, we inspired, and staff upgraded my idea to make it even better, to build a full
with parking.
first-class parking lot, boat
Wow.
ramp with overflow parking at the Trico site now.
Wow. So
Right? It's going to be a first-class gateway entrance to Main Street facility
nice.
that you'll also be pleased to know will allow us to fix the road and the drainage
Oh.
on Main Street.
Cool.
That'll be.
Wow. Look
yeah,
at you getting
yeah.
shit done. Wow. Look at you.
So,
Crazy.
no, it's our team, but,
Yeah.
but we're certainly
Yeah.
trying to
But you're
inspire
pushing
their
it. You're pushing it.
ingenuity.
Now there's a big building on the other side of the street there that's
Okay.
is that we got an email that's not what it's going to be. Have you heard anything about that building?
Honestly, Kim asked me about that, and I have
Okay.
not.
Because she wants to get a job
she
there.
asked
Is that what you mean?
She just said, "Do I know what's going on?" Like everybody else.
We're
asked me
talking
every
about the
question.
No,
Vixens building.
no. You're not, because he's being
Is there a
cryptic.
trick question
It is
somewhere?
a trick question.
Okay.
So I will clarify.
Oh,
I asked you about another building.
Oh.
He's talking about Vixen building.
somebody
Oh,
got
I
somebody
thought
sent us an
Compass-
email.
I
I
thought you
did
meant
not
Compass Ro-
ask him
I thought he meant
about
Compass
the
Rose.
Vixen's building.
Sorry.
Wow, that would have been
no,
weird.
That's all right.
That, have you heard anything about that building? Because now we got an email that it wasn't going to be what they're planning it to be. So,
I
I know John King wants to own that whole part of the. Never mind the whole. You haven't heard anything, is what your point is.
Just let him, just don't answer and just let him
Complete
die on
fifth
the
that one.
vine.
So-
I have
the-
not asked or answered any questions.
That's right. So the last question is: do you have any idea if the state's ever going to pass a budget?
So we're nearing day 109 of our 60-day session. And my lovely bride, who I'm proud to share, is the budget chair for the K through 12 education budget of $30 billion she was responsible for this year.
That's
$30 billion with a
crazy.
B,
That's a lot of math.
right? She just finished it on Friday. They just voted to whatever the
Yeah. Monday
voting-
night. they're
Monday
voting on
night
the
they should be
budget.
closed.
Late Monday night.
Yes.
So
All right.
she's been on session
Very
since
nice.
Thanksgiving, and thank God it'll be open before 4th of July.
Thank God you're not on the budget committee.
No kidding. So anything else?
It's
Are
a
we-
little mathier for you.
that-
Yeah,
way too
too
mathy for me.
mathier.
And we good, or you have
No,
anything else in your back
I'm
pocket?
proud
That was
to share
awesome.
good news. I appreciate
Yes,
everybody's
thank you.
support,
Yes.
but I'm working hard to get all these things reopened so we can all enjoy these things again. Anybody who hasn't seen the new Causeway Park, Islands Parks, full of people out there having fun again, enjoying things. I love to see the
100%.
progress. And
Yeah.
thank you for giving me the honor of
Yeah.
having this job.
Big hand for David Mullick, everybody. A great representative for our county here, and we
You
appreciate.
gonna read something?
Yeah, I got some ads I got to read before you have Chris on. We got Chris from Captains for Clean Water coming on in a second, and I do want to tell everybody about a few of our sponsors. Open houses today until 2:00 at 6 locations from ERA Lahaina. Did I say that right? Lahaina Realty. I apologize if I said it wrong. It's been a long day. We have a flyer right now posted on our Facebook page with all the different locations. There are 6 of them that you can go check out today. So there's a lot going on Fort Myers Beach. If you're interested in some property on Fort Myers Beach, now is the time to check it out. Also, one of our sponsors is Michael Stewart, and we love Michael Stewart. Not only is he a sponsor of the show and everything that we do here, he is the sponsor of our 4th of July fireworks broadcast. He's the sponsor of our 4th of July parade broadcast. And if you need a structure built on Fort Myers Beach, Michael Stewart is the structural engineer that you need. His phone number is 239-292-7670. His website is mstewartpe.com, and he does everything from residential, commercial, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. So give Michael Stewart a call. Unless you want to build some flimsy thing that blows over in the wind, and we've seen that happen on Fort Myers Beach, then you just go ahead and call whoever you want to call. But if you want a rock-solid building or a home, something that's going to last for your kids and your grandkids, then give Michael Stewart a call at 239-292-7670. That's 239-292-7670. All right, everybody, you've seen a lot of things happening in the news over the last, 10 days, 2 weeks. It's got a lot more attention in the last 2 weeks. And we love talking about the water because if it wasn't for the water, I don't think any of us would be here. Can we get a big round of applause for our next guest from Captains for Clean Water? The co-founder, Chris Whitman, is back, everybody. So we've had Chris on before to talk about different things. And so if you're scrolling around on social media, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks ago, maybe not even 2 weeks ago, there was something going on with a rock mine. And then you really, unfortunately, with some of this stuff, you got to get into the weeds to understand it. But it has always to come back to Big Sugar, and it has some.
Well, I think it's always come back to Everglades restoration, which is what is so important to this area because it affects the discharges from the lake.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Anybody who,
Well, thank you.
and first also thank you for having us on. It's always great to be on with you guys. But anybody who's been here in the past, 2018, 2019, those water crisis, 2016, when we get those massive discharges from Lake Okeechobee, it decimates our area. It collapses our fishery. It closes down businesses on the barrier islands here. It impacts the jobs, Fort Myers Beach and Sanibel, impacts our property values. And so Everglades restoration is critical to everyone who not only lives in Southwest Florida, but visits Southwest Florida.
So can you just in a nutshell kind of explain Everglades restoration and the different prongs?
That's a big nutshell.
I know, but there are several different things
Well,
that
the
are.
crown jewel is really the EAA.
The crown jewel is the reservoir, but in a nutshell, Everglades restoration reconnects the hydrological connection in Florida of water flowing from south of Orlando all the way down through the middle of the state, ultimately to Florida Bay and the Florida Keys. And about a century ago, man went in and segmented that, broke it up, and disconnected that system. And as a result, Lake Okeechobee can no longer flow into the River of Grass and down to Everglades National Park. It gets too full. When it gets too full, that polluted water gets discharged out to our coast here in Southwest Florida, and it fuels those algae blooms that we've seen in the past. And so Everglades restoration reconnects that system. It gives water managers the ability to take Lake Okeechobee's water, clean it through engineered wetlands, and then send that clean water back south to the Everglades. And so it's important to the ecology of the entire southern part of Florida, but also to the economy of our state.
And Governor DeSantis has been a big proponent of putting funds behind that. And he went in and wiped out some people that weren't really behind a lot of the projects that needed to be done. Can you kind of give us a quick rundown of how great he's been for all of this?
Yes, Governor DeSantis has been a champion for Everglades restoration. The plan of Everglades restoration is a partnership between the state of Florida and the federal government, and it was estimated that it would take 30 years. That plan was put into place in the year 2000, and they thought that by 2030, they would have all 68, the largest environmental restoration project ever done here in the United States, complete. And so in 2016, when we were all suffering from that water crisis and people were being laid off from their jobs here on Fort Myers Beach, we're at that past the halfway point, and not a single project had been completed. And it was identified that the sugar industry, known by the public here as Big Sugar, had really so much influence on policymakers that there just wasn't significant funding and there wasn't significant attention. So those projects were not moving forward at the rate needed. Fast forward to Governor DeSantis taking office in his first term, and he really made water quality and Everglades restoration the priority of his campaign and what would be his legacy. One of the big hurdles there was the state agency in charge of Everglades restoration, the South Florida Water Management District, had just renewed the leases on state land, state taxpayer-owned land, back to Florida Crystals, where that key project that Kim was talking about, the EAA reservoir, was to be built and located. They went in and they renewed those leases. Governor DeSantis took office, and one of his first actions was to go over to the East Coast and demand the resignation of the entire governing board of that agency. People who were involved in that at the time will never forget that happening.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a historical moment. And since then, Everglades restoration has been moving at lightning speed. The EAA reservoir, which is like the heart of Everglades restoration, it takes Lake Okeechobee's polluted water, stores it, cleans it through a filter marsh, and it sends that clean water south to the Everglades. That project today is under construction. It's being built. The filter marsh component of it is already completed.
And so then you have this situation come up where there's property that's located, is it 1,000 feet from where the reservoir is going to be built, where a proposed rock mine / water storage thing? Like are they proposing it as a dual thing? Because it's very confusing. It's either a rock mine or it's water storage. So you can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so this rock mine that we've been speaking about for the last several months now, a couple things are important here. When there was the design of that EAA reservoir was taking place, they were looking for willing sellers to provide more land to build as big of a reservoir and big of a filter marsh as possible. And the sugar industry said, we're not willing to take any land out of production. So we built the Army Corps and the South Florida Water Management District designed a reservoir on state-owned land, that the land that those leases were put on that we broke. And so the sugar industry fought very hard saying, we're not going to take land out of production there. They also sued the Army Corps of Engineers over the operations of that reservoir, specifically the STA, saying that water...
Which are storm treatment...
The stormwater treatment area. It's an engineered wetland. It's a marsh that uses plants to clean the water. And they sued the Army Corps saying that the water that would come out of that reservoir, that's origin was Lake Okeechobee, the public's water, that if that water was used to hydrate that STA and then send it to the Everglades, that in essence was taking away water that was due to them. So they sued the Army Corps of Engineers over that. There was an amicus brief filed on behalf of the Army Corps. We were part of that brief, and that suit was filed at the district level in Miami. They lost that suit. They then appealed that suit. It went to the appellate court, the 11th Circuit in Atlanta. And again, an amicus brief was filed as part of that. The South Florida Water Management District was part of that amicus brief on the side of the Army Corps, and the sugar industry lost there too. So they were saying, this project, by the way, is $4 billion of taxpayer money. So you have a $4 billion reservoir, the largest reservoir the Army Corps has ever built, the heart of Everglades restoration. The sugar industry was saying, you can build this $4 billion project, but we should be entitled to the water in it before that water is available for Everglades restoration. The judges on that at that court, again, ruled in favor of the Army Corps. Sugar industry lost that suit. Here's where it gets interesting. So they're fighting this reservoir. They then, early last year,
took a hard pivot.
It is.
Yeah.
They were seeking to put in a, quote, water resource project directly next to the EAA reservoir. They called it the Southland Water Resource Project. However, the nature of the project is actually a rock mine.
What does that mean?
What their proposal was or is to come in and mine the limestone next to the reservoir in an 8,600 acre footprint of land directly adjacent to the EAA reservoir, mine that limestone and aggregate out of there, process it for the period of 35 to 45 years. At that point,
That is their land, though.
it is their land.
It is their land. Yep.
However, mining is not allowed in the Everglades except for a couple of identifying circumstances. One is if it is necessary to produce a water resource project. There's been many attempts in the past to have mines approved. There's been mines approved and then permits revoked.
So what is the negative reaction to the EAA when you're mining rock?
Sure. So I will get to that. So what you have here is they proposed this rock mine. They identify that it won't get approved, and the approval process has to come from the South Florida Water Management District, the Palm Beach County Board of Commissioners, who does the zoning, and then a permit from the DEP. And so in order for Palm Beach County to approve the zoning part, the project has to be determined that it is indeed a water resource project. by the Army or by the South Florida Water Management District. They filed for this project. An interesting thing happened. There was a law passed July 1st, so almost a year ago, last year, that restructured the unsolicited proposal process for projects. So for people outside the government, this wasn't something that the district, the water management, just said, hey, we need this. Who can build it for us? This was the landowner and the contractor coming and saying, hey, we have an idea. So on July 1st, there was a law passed that restructured how that proposal process works.
Because prior to that, it was only the government that could come up with ideas, and
right.
then they would
all the
get
CERT
contractors.
projects are designed and vetted and thought up through a multi-step, multi-year process, multiple agencies. So July 1st, that law was filed. 48 hours later, July 3rd, this proposal was the very first proposal to get put through this process. We saw it. We got caught wind of it. I don't remember. It was maybe August sometimes. Something doesn't look right. That proposal was withdrawn. Now we get to, in order for the water or for Palm Beach County to say yes and approve that zoning permit, they have to have what's called a site identification letter from the Water Management District saying that we've analyzed this project and it is in fact a water resource project. On Christmas Eve, the executive director of the Water Management District, they repealed their application. Then on Christmas Eve, the executive director of the Water Management District sent a letter to Palm Beach County in vague legs saying this could be possibly the site of a water resource project.
Yes,
but they
he
have
said
not
it's
begun vetting it.
likely provide viable alternative technologies for both water management and water treatment complementary. Oh God, I gotta get
Chris,
my
but
glasses.
can
With the
I-
EAA reservoir.
I'm sorry.
So,
And so I had my day wrong. They sent the letter to the executive director. It was sent on Christmas Eve. He then sent that letter to Palm Beach County on New Year's Eve.
But Chris,
So
can I
right
just
before
can I
major
just stop you
holidays.
for a second?
Yep.
I consider
gonna say-
myself a very average person.
Yep.
Everything you're saying is going right over my head. Like I'm trying to figure out why a rock mine next to the EAA is a bad thing. And I
Okay.
think if people can,
well, all right.
I don't
Think about
think- I
this.
don't think
No,
you're not- I don't think you're an
no.
expert
Think
in
about
any way
this.
about
They're going
this.
to so they can no longer use that land for sugar
Who's they?
development. The
who's
sugar
they?
company. It's just they've
Why
used
can't
it,
they
used it.
They've run out of soil.
They've run out of soil.
Okay.
So now they're going to put in a rock mine, use that aggregate, sell it for public roads, and then
Sell
whatever.
it for public roads.
Yes, they have
the
to use
rock
the
mine.
yeah.
The rock.
And then
The rock.
whatever hole is left over, they're
Okay, so
going
I'm
to
still
make
not
as
buying-
water
So
storage.
so there's a number of possible threats.
Okay.
One is the threat to water quality in the aquifer. You're dealing with there's a lot of concerns and many of the scientific organizations that have weighed in on this, from the different chemicals that can be released by mining practices and the explosives to the hydrological flow of groundwater.
Are
through
you
that
worried
area.
that with the work that they're going to do in the rock mine will get into the EAA?
So it could pollute the aquifer. It could make that water unusable to send south to the Everglades and Everglades National Park. The other thing is you're going to have 35 to 45 years of blasting and excavation directly next to an above ground reservoir, a high threat reservoir that there's three big reservoirs in Everglades restoration. One of them's already been completed. And when they started to fill it with water, it began leaking. So it is very challenging. And this is not a hole in the ground reservoir. This is an above ground 30-foot high embankment, tremendous amount of hydraulic pressure. And so the risk of 35 years of explosive detonations next to a $4 billion taxpayer funded project is, if this thing starts leaking, it's useless. And don't lose sight of the fact that the very people who are proposing this project were the ones suing over that project being filled with water.
Whose responsibility is it to look at those factors and say, this is safe, this is not safe?
That responsibility would fall on the South Florida Water Management District and the Army Corps of Engineers.
And shouldn't they first say if it's safe enough before everybody starts getting
You're damn
permits?
right they should.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Well,
Did
thank
they?
you.
That's
No, they did
and
not.
So to Ed's question, what are the concerns with a rock mine next to this key Everglades restoration project?
Publicly funded.
Are those, it could pollute the water, it could damage the project itself. It also sets the precedent for what is the future land use in that area when they are losing soil in that area. So when land no longer becomes farmable, will that land be available for restoration projects like engineered wetlands and filter marshes, or will it become century long of rock mines? And so this will set that precedent as well.
So-
the other part of it is that, in the part that I was bringing up, that's really what's got people furious, is the circumventing, the using of loopholes to ram this thing through this new public-private partnership process and circumvent the analysis by those agencies and the public input of that project in the first place.
So it almost seems like it's common sense what you're saying.
It's definitely
you're,
common sense.
But you're getting a lot of criticism for it. The captains, the groups that are trying to stop this,
Stop and pump the brakes and take a look.
No, I'm not saying, I know they're trying to do that, but you're still getting whacked from different angles about why do you think 100% of the people aren't behind you?
Well, we're only getting a little bit of criticism, and that's by the people that are proposing the project or people that are closely affiliated with the sugar industry. By and large, the public is more fired up and rallied around this issue than anything we've ever seen. We put out a video from one of those commission meetings over in Palm Beach, and as of today, I just checked it in the truck. As of today, that one video has 3.5 million views.
Which one was it? Where
It was the one where a young lady was asking the Palm Beach Commission if this proposal will cost taxpayers money.
Right.
And the commissioners talk with staff, and they say, not one penny. There's not a single penny here. And then you go to the applicant's website, and it clearly says right on the website that this will be funded by taxpayer dollars. We'll provide the startup money for the construction. And we've seen this before. The C-51 reservoir, same way. It was supposed to be a privately funded project. That project's cost Florida taxpayers $260 million. One year they went to the legislature, asked them for $50 million, and the legislature gave them $100 million, gave them twice as much they were asking for. So you have two things here. The people at the county, at Palm Beach County, completely said, no, it won't cost taxpayer money. So only two outcomes. They either don't know what they're talking about, or they do know it'll cost, and they said, and neither one of those are acceptable. And the applicant was there. He also did not stand up and raise and say, yes, we will seek public funds for this.
So it's taxpayer dollars for the EAA. It's taxpayer dollars for them, for their project.
That's what
And
they will
then
be
they
seeking.
get to get the limestone out. They get to sell it, make a profit on that. And then they'll give you a hole in the ground to hold water, but it's going to be not water. Is there a filter system attached to that water? How useful is just another hole in the ground if there's not a filter system?
Great question. So the current proposal, there is zero treatment component to it. It is just a bunch of cells that are 15, 16 feet deep. And those filter marshes have to be shallow. They're like embankments so that, cattails and hydrilla and plants can grow in them. So this current design, there's no filter marsh component to it. The other thing is, to Kim's point, the Army Corps of Engineers has been directed by a member of Congress who's the chair of the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, T&I, to look into this and study this and the effects of blasting on a $4 billion public project right next door. The Army Corps, or the South Florida Water Management District, has not even begun the analysis on this project to determine if it's a viable project at all. Yet the applicant took that letter that was sent on New Year's Eve saying this is possible, and they used that letter as the site identification letter that was needed and portrayed that letter as that to get Palm Beach County to move forward. They voted unanimously to approve it. DEP just as of week before last, sent a statement saying they've issued their intent to issue permit, which will happen by, I believe it's the 19th, next week. And so at this point, the applicant can actually move forward with the act of mining before the Water Management District even begins their analysis of this project.
So South Florida Water Management District is that the only backstop for this project?
It was the only backstop with that letter. However, once that letter or that letter from Drew Bartlett was painted as an identification letter, at that point, there's no other backstop once those other two agencies move forward. So once Palm Beach County approved it, and then if DEP approves the permit, at that point, they can start putting shovels in the ground.
So one of the things that was really interesting to me over the last few days is the Hendry County Sheriff said that the Captains for Clean Water people were causing all kinds of crazies to come out of the ground and threaten people. And I looked at that and I was like, wow, that when the sheriff comes out and says you can't use your First Amendment rights to do whatever you were doing. And I was trying to figure out,
yeah, where are we? The EU?
I was trying to figure out, like, where are the threats? Like, I've known you guys. We've known you two forever. I don't think you have it in your bones to threaten people. And how does the Hendry County Sheriff post something like he posted about what you guys are trying to do? How did that happen?
There's been this the public is ticked off that this is being rammed through a process that's circumventing scientific review, engineering review, and most importantly, public input, stakeholder input. And they're not happy about it. And so as we are shining a light on these issues, the public has become extremely vocal, hence the 3.5 million views on a single video. And as a result, the sugar industry, through proxies, has tried to paint us as inciting violence, inciting threats. All of our content is extremely educational. We don't encourage threat. We've condoned no such thing. Matter of fact, we always say we do not condone. We condemn threatening language. It's not how you do it. It didn't happen. What they took was they cherry picked a few social media comments from people not affiliated with the organization and an email sent to West Palm Beach County Commission, again, not affiliated with the organization, and said that was captains inciting violence. It's an attempt to silence us, an attempt to get us to back down on this rock mine issue. And here's the real thing. In a later interview, Sheriff Whidden from Hendry County also was asked, how did this get put on your radar? He said, U.S. Sugar called me and put this on my radar.
But don't you think that a sheriff would investigate before making a post like that? I mean, people get stupid on social media all the time.
If you want to talk about common sense, Ed, if the sheriff actually thought this was that we were inciting violence, his steps would be to have his agency or a partner agency contact Captains for Clean Water.
Or investigate you.
None of that has happened. Nobody has reached out to us. There's been zero communication to us, not via phone, not via email, not in person. The only action that was taken was a post on the sheriff's Facebook account.
And then he shut off the comments.
And then he shut the comments off. This was a clear intimidation tactic and a clear intent to discredit the voice of Captains for Clean Water, more so discredit the voices of all the people that are angry about this rock.
Has he called you and apologized and said he was wrong?
No, have not heard from him.
So
I wouldn't hold your breath.
So was it also a coincidence that you got pulled over the other day?
Probably.
Just a coincidence.
Yeah. So if the rock mine...
You don't want to talk about that at all.
If the rock mine...
There's no such thing as coincidence.
I know, for sure. He got pulled over for window tint.
If the rock mine... For people on this coast, whatever holds up the EAA reservoir, whatever threatens that viability of that reservoir, just enables the continued discharges down the Caloosahatchee. So you continually be at risk for those algal blooms, for those dead fish events. Is that correct?
That's correct. Everglades restoration is the answer to rehydrating Everglades National Park, balancing salinities in Florida Bay, saving a national park. but it's the answer to ending the massive discharges to our coasts here and the East Coast as well. And every day that's delayed, we are staring down the barrel of a gun coming into the wet season of, are we going to experience those discharges again? So anything that could delay Everglades restoration or specifically
Or
the
jeopardize
EAA
it.
reservoir, or jeopardize it. What happens if you build a $4 billion reservoir project that takes you 8 to 10 years to construct, and when you start filling it with water
It
and they're
leaks.
blasting next door for the next 30 years, it's leaking? What then does Everglades restoration do? What does that happen? I mean, there's economic studies out right now that show the billions of dollars of impact to our community here in Southwest Florida because of an algae bloom crisis like we saw in 2018. It's insane. And the jobs, if we saw an event here today like we did in 2018, 43,000 jobs would be lost. They're pushing this rock mine for the fact that it will create 140 jobs. 140 jobs. And could jeopardize the key component of Everglades restoration. It makes no sense. It does not add up. There's no reason that all of a sudden Big Sugar is going to come to us as this faithful partner that wants to offer up
This
8,600 acres.
Yeah.
Look, if they want to truly be a partner in Everglades restoration, make
Sell
that
the land.
8,600 acres available for the state to purchase it.
Yep.
Let's build a STA filter marsh on that land. Let's have it operational by the time the EAA reservoir is working, and we'll cheer the sugar industry on. But that is not what's happening. They are trying to push through a rock mine disguised as a restoration project.
Yes. Now, it's not only a West Coast problem, it's also an East Coast problem because the St. Lucie doesn't get as much as us, but they get some. So I know Brian Mast is outspoken, talks about stuff. What is their view over there about this situation?
I was just in Washington, D.C. with our team last week. We got back Thursday night. I was with Congressman Mast a couple of different days, and he spoke at Everglades Summit, talking about the 25 years of Everglades restoration. And one of the biggest points he made up, he brought up, was the threat of this rock mine. He brought it up as his keynote speech at the summit itself, and then he brought it up again at the congressional dinner that evening. Said it is basically insane that we would be allowing a rock mine to go in the Everglades directly next to the Everglades Agricultural Area Reservoir. He brought it up. He has directed the Army Corps of Engineers. He sent a letter to Major General Kelly out of Atlanta asking him to do a study on this. And meanwhile, you've got the district has not begun their analysis. You got a congressional member in charge of T&I who's directing the Corps. The Corps' not done an analysis, and the applicant is just foot on the gas. Let's go. We got our permits in hand. Let's move this thing forward.
So how do you want people to get involved? What do you want people to do?
People can get involved. Follow us on our social. We just launched a podcast. You guys have been a big inspiration to that. Long format conversations like this are really valuable.
Yeah.
We can put information out and make public aware of things on social media in 10, 20 seconds. But to dive into the nuances of these things,
the
long format is really critical. And Ed and Kim,
It'll
you guys
be
have been
shocking.
a big inspiration.
Listen to that.
If you watch the first one, you can watch it on YouTube or
Get
listen
your
to it.
popcorn.
Yeah. Where you guys know, where's all the podcasts?
On
Spotify.
Apple.
Anywhere you listen to podcasts, you can find Captains for Clean Water podcast. First episode is about this rock mine. Follow us if you're on social media and you see this stuff. Chime in, comment on it, hit the share button. The public pressure is the only thing. You asked what's the backstop. At this point, the only backstop is the public pressure and hoping that somebody's going to step in and put the brakes on this thing until it can be analyzed.
And public pressure has worked in the past. I'm not going to get the Florida bill right, but what was it, 2805?
Senate Bill 2508.
I got dyslexia, 2508. And the public came out and spoke, and DeSantis did what he
Vetoed that
needed to
bill.
do.
He came here to
Yes,
Fort Myers Beach to
that's
veto
right.
that bill.
Over there at Doc Ford's.
You're right.
So don't feel that your one voice is a drop in the bucket, because it's not. Your one voice could be the drop that overflows the bucket and changes everything for the better, so that we don't have this problem. we don't have these discharges.
Anything else, Chris?
I would just say that, these attempts to intimidate or silence us or get us off to back off this issue, they not only empower us and make us want to fight harder, they embolden our supporters. We have seen more people coming to our defense, making donations, buying hats, waving the captain's flag proudly as a result of that. So, a PR attack by a proxy of the sugar industry on this movement is not going to have the effect that they want. It's going to have the opposite effect. And, Captains for Clean Water is here for the long haul. We've always been here for the good of the people. We're born and raised right here. My mom grew up on this island. I grew up on Sanibel. We want what's good for our water. We're not going to be intimidated. We're not going to be silenced. And we're going to keep pushing, and we're going to fight as hard as we can to kill this rock mine in the Everglades.
And I have to
And
tell
I want
you,
to say, too, that you're a 501c3.
Yes, ma'am.
So any of those attacks about you guys are making money and all of that crap,
All of our financials are
Yeah.
public knowledge.
and I have to say, when I saw the sheriff in Hendrick County post what he posted, I said, that just helped the cause.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's exactly what they needed. When
Yep.
somebody does something like that, they don't really know what's going on, and they just did somebody a favor, and it's totally going to backfire, and it
That-
just helped the cause. It just
That's
helped
how
the
the
cause.
sugar industry works. They don't do their bidding themselves. They do it through proxy. In the case of that attack, they did it through the sheriff. He doesn't know anything about it, likely. In the case of this proposal, Sugar didn't go present the proposal. They're doing it through the contractor as a proxy. That's their typical MO. It's nothing new to us.
no, it's kind of old school way. And it's
Yeah.
like you don't realize
boys,
that
yeah.
there's social media out there and people are getting educated
Yes.
and they're learning about those tactics, and it's not going to work anymore.
Thanks a lot, Chris. Big hand for
Thank
Chris
you, guys.
Whitman and
Appreciate
Captains for Clean Water, everybody. Nice. All right, there. I'm going to take care of business here while you schmooze the guests. All right, ladies and gentlemen, before you hang up the phone, our sponsors for the remainder of the show. Tom Coleman with Eagle Eye Aluminum. You've heard us talk about Tom on the show on Sunday. Well, luckily for him, he's got a Saturday spot today. And that means if you need seamless gutters, aluminum and vinyl soffits, or fascia repairs, you people that work around the house know what that shit means. I have no idea. All I know is he makes your house look nice, keeps it together. After Michael Stewart puts that nice big structure together, Tom's going to come around the outside and slap all this crap right on the outside and make sure your gutter doesn't fall down. Or he replaces pool screens too, which is nice, because if you get these big ugly frogs that hop around your house, sometimes they're so big they can jump right through the screen and then kill your dog. And that's not what you want. You want to have that rock solid pool screen. So give Tom Coleman a call at Eagle Eye Aluminum, 239-340-1639. That's 239-340-1639. And before you folks leave today, pick up a Captains for Clean Water hat right here on the table. It all goes to the cause, and clean water is the cause, because if you don't have clean water, you don't have anything down here. You just got dirt. Alex King is our final sponsor today, because Alex is creating dreams and elevating lifestyles. They've done the research and the homework, so you don't have to. They're meeting with builders, design companies, contractors every single week. Alex was at our business meeting last night. Alex was putting out flags all over Fort Myers Beach. Alex is giving away money for all the lovely events going on here in Fort Myers Beach. So if you need your dream home or you want to sell your property, give Alex King a call, 239-219-0336, 239-219-0336. The mayor is back tomorrow at 11 or 10 o'clock at Wahoo Willie's. Thank you all for putting out your flags. Thank you all for a great Flag Day, and happy birthday to the United States Army, 250 years old. We'll see you tomorrow at Wahoo Willie's. Thank you all for coming. Bye-bye.